Alrighty, Sharp Customs, we're rolling. This is a different time of the day. It is literally Thursday, just after lunch, 12:30, somewhere around there. Was going through all my, my notifications, my comments this morning, because I cross-post, my YouTube channel over to some of the quarter scale groups and a few other places, so I get comments from not just the YouTube channel. I get comments elsewhere, and I had a few people ask me about if I could do a video on Bondo fillers, blah blah blah, and I was like, you know what, I'll do that today. I'll do it like soon as I soon as I get a chance. I'm still starting my day in a sense, because I'm still drinking coffee, but I'm gonna take my last mouthful of my coffee and I'm gonna get right into it, and I'll show you the tools, the arsenal. I'll put some butter. I call it butter, but I'll go through what I use. So I can do that while I'm holding my coffee. So don't go out and buy that cheap ass glazing putty in a tube, that has to dry, overnight, 24 hours. It's kind of a red looking color. Don't buy that crap. I mean, if you're gonna do super fine scratches, I know a lot of the modelers, they use that for really fine scratches and stuff. Problem with that is it's air dry. It's a lacquer filler, and it tends to crack down the road. It's one of those fillers you can't put it on too thick, because number one, it takes forever to dry, and number two, you're just going to run into problems with it. You're better off, go to a body shop that carries body supplies, or a store. There's lots of stores that carry stuff. This stuff I use, this is a glaze. It's a finishing glaze putty. It's Softworks. I don't know if you guys can get this down in the States. I know up here in Canada, I buy it. I like the way it works. It's a nice smooth putty. It's a polyester. You could get other brands like Evercoat. You might be able to go to your local, I can't think of the stores down in the U.S. Harbor Freight, Napa, those kind of places. They might carry Evercoat and some of the other stuff. I'm not sure where this stuff comes from. Let me have a quick little peek. So this comes from Germany, so you might be able to get it, and this is nice stuff. What I like about it the most is it's almost a half a gallon of filler, and it's cheap. It's about 40 bucks for that whole can, and that whole can, if you're doing it for your quarter scale cars, or even your real car for that fact, because I use it for everything. But get yourself a good quality glazing putty. Most cases you're not going to need a Bondo. Bondo is it's coarse, it's porous. That's for the old cave and pave. When you got a dent on your car and you can't get it out, you grind it off and you putty it over, and that's what some people do. Me, I don't use Bondo, even though Bondo is cheap. It's pretty reasonable for a whole gallon of Bondo. I don't use it. I use short strand fiberglass for covering over welded seams and imperfections and stuff, and then I come back and I go over it with a polyester glazing putty. And sometimes you got to use a little bit more putty, because you can only, same thing, you do nice light layers with it. I wouldn't go more than an 1/8 of an inch thick at a time. I have, and it's worked fine. But yeah, we're gonna get into it. I'm gonna ditch my coffee cup. Tasted like another one. Maybe after the video. So, some of the Arsenal putty board. This is just a piece of old tinted acrylic. Once it gets a big thick buildup on it, I just ditch it and find another piece of Lexan or acrylic. And you want a nice at least one clean edge, and you'll see in a second. Sandpapers, obviously, I love my longboard. You know, doing stuff like this. Now I have this little cat. You know, nice little orbital sander. The only issue I have with this, it's loud as shit. Vibrates everything. But knocks the filler down super fast. Then I'll hit it with this, you know, longboard. You get the rubber block. And as you can see, I've got all this stuff set up with, oh, here, you want to do contours? Here's a little trick. Piece of wooden dowel. Take your sandpaper around it, you know, just on the ends, and you know, if you had, let's say, a contour in here, you know, it's a good way to sand out a contour. I'm not sure what I use this for. Actually, I do know what I use this for. I use this for some contours that were like this when I did the last body job on a Corvette. The back sails had this nice sweep. This was a nice little tool for, and you can buy all the proper stuff, but why buy it when you can cut a piece off your broom handle and just make your broom handle for short people. Hey, and then you don't have to use it. You know, that's where you get the kid. Hey, kids, sweep the damn floor. You know, unless you know lots of short people. Good suggestion. So when I do the first cut of most filler, 80 grit is my go-to because it hacks it off of there super fast. Because a job like this where I chop this 34, you're going to do multiple passes on this roof before you ever need to cut down to, you know, 120, 150. So yeah, that's most of the tools. Your applicators. I am cheap when it comes to these applicators. Oh, by the way, these I use the sticky back rolls. Amazon, cheap. You know, you get 150 feet for, I don't know, 20, 25 bucks. Lasts a long time. And you can put it on anything. And if you want, I like to just snap it, pull it. Look at that, comes right off. You can take this, stick it to itself. There you go. Get a nice little piece of smaller sandpaper for, you know, for doing smaller areas. You know, if you want get into like a sharp corner, get yourself just a little hunk of wood. You know, there you go. Wrap it, press it, form it. You know, now you can get into a tight corner. All kinds of little tricks you can do just with a block of wood, some sandpaper. So, now, we're going to put some filler on this. And because that's, this friend of mine, he's actually doing a GT40 body, and he wanted to know how, put it this way, he's just not great with the putting the fillers on, I guess, and whatnot. And so what I do, I've already got a coat on here, as you can see. It is not, there's a low spot right there. So this is my trick. I take a pencil, I find the low spots. Okay, that's all low right there. I circle it, and we got a big low spot here. We got some work here, a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there. Yeah, and it's hard. It takes time to, you know, kind of let your hand do its thing. Now, I feel like there's a little bit of a high spot there, so I won't bother with that. This is all, that's all a little bit, yeah, that's all a little bit low. I've already marked these corners. These corners, so I had to do a second, so I cut this in half here, rejoined it to line up these edges right here, but the back window did not line up, so I had to do a secondary cut right here and kind of tip that back out to join up with the window. And I got these weird little transition marks right here, and really the only thing you can do there is just kind of, you know, put some filler and try and reshape with your filler, because that's what you're doing. You are technically, you are sculpting with the filler. Let's crack the filler. Let's crack the filler. Oh, I've got a couple other things before I go putting the filler. Another good handy tool, the Dremel, because I've got little places like right here when I did the chop job, you know, this lower piece and the upper piece, they don't quite line up. They look okay, but you can just take this, you know, and you can just carve it. There we go. Get the fiberglass out of the way. Just nice light passes. Don't be an animal. Don't be an animal, because if you try to do it too much too quick, you might take out too much. That corner looks good. This one needs it cleaned out just a little bit. Like I say, just a little bit at a time. That corner looks okay. I'm going to leave that. How's this side? This side, okay, we're good. So now this side, when I chopped the roof and I put it back together, I used hot glue. Now down in this little crevice, because I put the hot glue more to the outside, but you want to make sure that you get all that, you know, the hot glue, which I think I already got most of it out. And then I actually used the blade. Yeah, my knife broke. Cheap. I chamfered, you can cut the fiberglass. See? I just took a little bit out, so when I put the filler in here, you know, you can chamfer it back. You know, this nice little crease line here, which is a trim line kind of for the door. Oh yeah, that was another thing. These little triangles you see here, right here, yeah, they're gone. They didn't exist because they don't go up that high on the roof. I wish I had another roof to show you. So right from this point up this way, that's filler. And how I did that was just with masking tape. I built up, you know, that 1/16 of an inch thickness, and I just followed, you know, kind of made it like that, and then just put filler in there. I had tape over here on the trim line, so I didn't you know, fill up the trim line. Same thing with this. Same thing with this. I don't want to fill up my trim line, so I'm just going to use masking tape to protect it. And you know, it's a cheap, easy way to kind of protect what you don't want to fill with your filler. Let's mix up some polyester filler. Put it on here because I've got another vehicle sitting right behind the camera crew. And now, like I say, I'm a cheapie when it comes to my applicators. I use them over and over. You can see they're all messy. I use them over and over again. I take, you know, 150 or maybe the 320, and I eyeball it. That's all I want. I just want it straight, but I want it clean. I don't want burrs on it. I don't want nicks on it. So I just use a piece of sandpaper there. Run your finger down it. I don't feel nothing. Looks good. Good to go. You're going to take a little scoop. A little scoop. I don't know how much I need for the roof, but like I said, I've always got other stuff. Like I've got a car, GT40 sitting there. Plus I got the 49 Ford that we're buttering, you know, some of the firewall on it. So if I always got a little bit of excess, always make sure I got something else or somewhere else to put it so I don't waste it. Sometimes it goes off on you, you know, because of the measurement. You need your hardener. You need it. If you know what I mean. You need it. Always need your hardener. That amount right there, it gives you calculations on the instructions on the can. My thing has always been roughly in and around a golf ball size. You want about an inch ribbon. You want about an inch ribbon of your hardener. Now it's a little warm in here. Like that's probably more than enough for that. That's probably going to go fast. So I'm going to mix it up. They say don't stir your fillers. You know, don't do this. And the reason they say don't do that is because you fill it full of air bubbles. Apparently. I can honestly say I never get air bubbles in my filler. I usually I do it like this, back and forth. Kind of twist it back and forth. That's why you want the straight edge on your mixing board. Scoop it. Once it kind of looks, you know, that was kind of a pinky red hardener I put in it. It looks pretty even. So I'm going to use it. Because, like I say, it is warm in here. So what I do is I go for the high spots. I go for where I pencil. Never start with your small stuff, like over here, that little crease, because to get the majority of your filler onto the whatever it is you're working on, even if it's a real car, do the bigger spots. I like to drag it across. I did blow this off with air. I like to drag it across, push it in nice so that it sticks, get it, you know, so it's wet. And you don't want to gob it on. That's the worst thing you can do, is gob it on, because if you gob it on, that's just more. You're better to go with light, a bunch of light coats. Bunch of light coats is way better than, you know, one big thick coat. Because if you put a big thick coat on it, you know, then you're going to spend so much time. Those lines are okay. There's nothing wrong with that. We know there's a low spot there, and we know there's a low spot here. And that's what I do. That's about as far as I'm going to take that, because I know I have to sand it. This little spot, I'll tackle it. This whole corner. Get it on there. You could wear rubber gloves. I'm not worried about getting it in the window. Now, yes, doing corners is a little tricky, because I'm actually trying to build it up. You know, I'm trying to sculpt it in a sense, because I know the transition is off just ever so slight. And these places, you know, it's pretty small, so I got time. I gotta flip it and get this little spot. But what I'm gonna do here is always have a cut. Always have a little cut applicator. Just a little piece for smaller spaces. You can take an applicator and cut it into whatever shape you need it to be. And I use a smaller, you know, a little smaller piece. I'm just gonna dab it in. get it right in there, and I can leave this. I can leave this fairly, I wouldn't say clumpy, but I can leave it fairly thick. I'm going to pull that piece of tape, otherwise it'll harden there. So that's this one. That's this one. That's pretty much, there's some more spots I got to hit, but for now I'm going to set this one aside and try and use up the filler. So this was the bad GT40. Now I did not pick the worst side, but sometimes what happens is you lose, you can see all this crap right here. That's gatoring, okay? Sometimes you lose the trim line. So I've done these videos before, and to get your trim line back, I got three layers of tape here. Now there's a lot of gatoring in this side, and I try and see that it didn't really want to go in there. It was kind of bubbling, so I just kind of squeezed it, pushed it. You want it to get in there and you want it to stick. This is a bad spot right here. I gotta flip this so I can work it. And obviously, you know, recreating this trim line means you're gonna have to come back after you peel that tape, and you're gonna have to do the door line, you know, and that's just the nature of the beast, I guess. Now here, where this gatoring is, I'm gonna kind of goop it, and it's starting to go, so I gotta work. I want to pull this. Don't be afraid of it. You know, do what you gotta do. But you'll see, and just run it smooth. Don't press. Don't press. Let the filler, kind of let the filler, you know, nice and light. Nice and light. You're gonna be sanding this. Nice and light. You don't have to get it perfect. That's what I'm trying to say. You don't have to get it perfect the first time around. You know, I just want to get it on there because I already know, you know, I already know it's doing some funky stuff. Yeah, got some in there too. I generally leave it mounted up on the corner like that, and then sand it. That's like, there's a big, look at this big gouge here, and I got a little bit left. And I'm gonna plunk that in just like that. There we go. I'll leave that lumpy like that because I can sand it. And with the 80 grit, you know, with the 80 grit, stay. Clean my board off. I think this stuff is almost, yeah, see, look, okay, see how it's all one. I'm not even going to keep using it. I could, because I know I could squeeze it into other places, little cracks and holes and stuff, but it's not worth it when it gets to that point. And that's not a big waste. That's not a big waste. That's just a little bit. Clean my applicator off. And then I'm gonna, before this hardens 100%, I gotta pull this tape. Because if you let it harden, then you're just going to pull pieces. You're going to pull pieces off here. So now what's happened there is, once this is hardened, I've recreated my trim line. I've recreated it, and now the worst thing you could do is when you start sanding this, you sand it right off. A lot of people do that. They sand way too much. No, you want, like I said, you're sculpting. You know, you want to leave that top edge, even if you have to come back and, you know, fill a couple little minor spots. You want to leave that edge. You can soften it. You know, you can rub over it with, like, 320 or something like that, just before you finish and you're going to prime. And that's another thing I wanted to talk about is, so once you've got your car all buttered up and you think it's smooth and it's ready to be primed, it's not ready. Go over it again. You will find, just with your hands, your fingers, you'll still find spots. And it all depends on how much of a perfectionist you are. And also depends on what color you're going to paint it. If you're going to paint it like bright red or yellow or lime green, super bright color, white, any little dips or waves, you're not going to see it as much. And if you're painting it and you're going to put graphics on it, again, you're not going to see it as much. If you were going to do like a dark candy apple red or black, being my nemesis, you want it close to perfect as perfect can be, I could say. Otherwise you see the ripples, you just see the stuff. I use an epoxy primer. I know a lot of people work on their hobby stuff. They go to the local hardware store and they buy some cheap crap aerosol primer. And some of it is okay. There are some, get yourself, but go to a body shop supply place. If you're gonna, even if you're gonna use an aerosol, go get a nice filler primer, 2K. Trust me, you won't regret it. Now, if you can afford, if you have a compressor and you can afford, let's say a minigun, a little touch-up gun, or even a full-size gun, like those guns at Harbor Freight and stuff, you can usually get a kit where you get one of these. It's a finishing gun, it's a priming gun, and you get your little touch-up gun. It all comes in one kit for, I've seen those kits for around 99 bucks. I get them here in Canada at our place we call Princess Auto, which is it's like the U.S.'s Harbor Freight. And those kits come on sale all the time. Well worth the money, especially if you're only a hobbyist. I've actually used those guns for years, painting full-size cars, trucks, whatnot. And they don't last forever, but they do work good. But I buy myself a quality, epoxy. I do a lot of priming, painting. This is Evotech. I believe, let's see, who is it through? So you probably can't get this stuff in the States because I believe it's made right here in Quebec, Canada. But this is like a heavy build epoxy primer. It will literally, when I sand this with 80 grit, 2 coats of this stuff will fill 80 grit. That's why I use a high quality epoxy high build primer. Takes overnight to dry, sands nice, but 2 coats of this, 2 coats of that, and you're golden. Like let's see, this car right here, that's what this is right there. And that you can't see any sand scratches in it. Let me get it under the light. And this was finished sanded, I know it was, with 150 grit. And that primer filled all the sand scratches nicely. Nice primer. Obviously this one's going to have to be all sanded down. Probably give her another couple coats of primer before it ever makes it to paint. Yeah, that was me. People ask me about that. That was me just testing templates. For the quarter scale. Actually had flames on the door and up on the roof, and I was making these little my little templates, and I did that one, and then I did this even really small one. That was what these ones were, and I was just trying to get the flame design and size for, you know, the scale of the car. Because the full-size cars, I use one that's probably the templates I make for a full-size car are probably, you know, 10 times that size. You know, these little kickouts, yeah, they're probably that wide. You know, so fair size. Okay, not 10 times, maybe 5 times. But so there, I showed you a little bit of body work. And actually stays up on its side nice. Isn't that nice? Like I say, as far as the sanding, you know, longboard, block, smaller blocks of wood, and the best sanding device that I have ever come across in my life is your hand. Because there's just places on here where you have no choice. You know, get the corner of the sandpaper, and sandpaper, not all sandpaper is made the same. Don't buy that cheap wood grade, you know, from the hardware store. Get automotive. Get automotive sandpapers. They just last. They last longer. You know, they work better. You know, do it. Just you know, buy all your product from, like I say, an auto body supply shop, because you know what, you're going to spend a little bit more than the hardware store garbage, but you won't regret it. Trust me, you won't regret it. Well, I was going to do a demonstration of sanding by hand. Maybe I can do the other side. But yeah, all these little contours. Now you could use a Dremel. There's lots of tools for Dremels. I find Dremels eat in. They eat in. So I got these little contours here, and there's nothing like, you know, using the edge of that sandpaper on that, you know, on that trim line. I got a little overbuild here, a filler. But yeah, use the edge. Use the edge, and when that edge gets worn out or clogged up, you know, bend it again. Get a new section. Keep going. It's tedious, trust me. It's tedious. Like all these trim lines, you know, it's tedious. Right here, there's some filler right here that's probably built up more than it needs to be, and that's your hand, some sandpaper. You know, it's very tedious, but my eyes, that's kind of the way you have to go about it. Your bigger spaces, you know, you got orbital sanders, you got block sanders. You know, this area would be good for this sander right there, no problem. You know, you can even get, you know, more. This is rubber, so it's like what they would consider a hard block. You can get soft blocks, you know, that are a little more forgiving than these ones. But yeah, get yourself some sanding blocks, get yourself some quality sandpaper. I'm telling you, buy a quality glazing putty, a 2-part, you know, putty, hardener. Don't use the, you know, don't use the red acrylic glazing putty. That stuff is just, it's just not good. It's good for, like I said, it's good for fine lines and stuff like that, but I don't use it for anything. I use this right here pretty much for all my finishing work. And yeah, I'd love to board sand this out for you, but I thought it was actually going to go off. I always see this piece I scraped off. I always leave it behind, because then I can break it. It's still yellow. What will happen is once it gets to the point where I think I can sand it, when you break it open, it'll be a little more white in there. And I'm breaking it pretty easy, and I can just tell it's still soft. Now, if you know, If I was to try and sand this right now, all it's going to do is just going to gum up my paper. And, you know, that's like your paper. See how it builds up like that? So you can either smack it off, or if you got a compressor, just get rid of it. Helps as you sand. Keeping your sandpaper clean. So there you go. Hope I helped you, people out there that want to do, you know, filler work, body work. This one's for you, Emilio. Don't forget, people, share, like, subscribe. This is a very odd day for me doing a video this time of the day. Yeah, you know the routine, man. Comment all you want. I love to reply back to the comments, and we're going to wrap this one up right here, right now. Peace. I'm out.